Hello, I'm Kelly Ryan, and I am very happy to welcome you to this month's edition of Are You In?, our cable access show, and as I say every month, capably hosted by Carol Davis and Rick Murden. This month's edition is very special. It's January 2014, and 2014 marks the 20-year anniversary of our community foundation. We are very, very pleased to launch this year each edition of Are You In 2014 with a segment that focuses on some aspect of our 20-year history in this community. This month, you will meet our first board chair and board member, former Mayor Carol Greenway. Carol is just one of many, many, many people that contributed so much time and effort and resources to help this organization thrive and get to where it is today. And I think where it is today is really an invaluable asset for our community and for our children and our children's children. So I'm so happy to welcome you to this month's edition, and I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thank you.
Welcome to a new season of
Are You In? A show by your Incourage Community Foundation.
It recognizes and celebrates the many good things happening in our community.
And it highlights the courageous work being done by our friends and neighbors.
We've got a lot happening on today's show.
A plethora. In 2014, Incourage celebrates 20 years as a community foundation.
That's 2 decades. Our CEO, Kelly Ryan, is in the studio with former board member Carol Greenway to take a trip down memory lane with us.
All right, we'll also hear about a Courage retreat that area 8th graders took in December that's changing how they treat others.
Today we're on location at the site of a local building.
It's part of a monthly segment we call
Where Are We in Southwood County? We're not giving away where we are.
We'll give you a few hints, but you'll have to guess and stay tuned.
Here's hint number 1. This location isn't just for tourists and visitors.
That's right. It helps you discover things to do and places to eat.
Eat! I love eating!
Food is love, Rick. We'll reveal where we are later, so stay tuned.
Don't touch that dial or remote or whatever you've got there, iPad.
In December, we held our 3rd Tribune Building meeting at Centralia Center.
We continue having great turnout and great participation from community members.
A key to these meetings' success are the table hosts who guide the conversation at each table.
But who are they and what's in it for them?
Let's find out.
Let's.
I am really enjoying being a table host because this project to me is just really, really fascinating, and I think it's a really, really excellent opportunity.
I just like making sure everybody's included. I like recording, trying to capture everything that everybody's saying. I just like being involved.
Tribune Building meeting table hosts ensure that everyone at the table has a voice and that all input is heard and recorded.
We are so fortunate in this process to have this cadre of community members who have volunteered to serve as hosts at their table. And this is quite remarkable that this many people are willing to take on a role like this, which can be tough at times. This is nothing where you come and somebody has all the answers. This is really about working through some of these ideas. So to take that on as a volunteer and maybe not having done that before speaks volumes to where this community is.
Sometimes it's hard work.
Sometimes it's hard to get people to speak up when they think there's going to be conflict, so a lot of it's getting people to really feel comfortable expressing themselves and what they feel is important and getting it out there. But maintaining a very positive atmosphere where ideas are respected and you don't have people kind of taking over.
The energy around the table tonight was very different than the last one because there were hard decisions and there were questions with no answers being asked, but it was very difficult for people to start to physically envision this space without understanding who's going to pay for it, who's going to run it, and it was kind of difficult at times to always go back and say we don't have those answers yet, we probably shouldn't have those answers yet, but a lot of really, really great discussion.
It's been a great way for residents to make connections that otherwise may not have happened.
I have people that I've set at my table at every meeting, and they're people I wouldn't have met any other way, and now making connections to, oh, you work at this place, or you go to that group, or you do this, and it's all coming together, and you really get that. We're kind of a small town, and you kind of see those connections there.
It's also been a great opportunity for new residents.
There's just been a lot of conversation, especially with new people who are relocating from other areas that have joined and actually got really interested in the process, and they'd been here maybe a couple weeks, and they said, hey, I moved here, I want to be part of this community, and I want to see what it's about. So this to them was a very a great way to get plugged in.
Table hosts have great hopes for the Tribune Building project.
I think it is a good opportunity for the Wisconsin Rapids area, and I hope that it creates jobs for the community, and we use this space the way the most people feel it should be used.
I continue to point back to this as an answer to, why do you choose to live in Wisconsin Rapids? Well, where else are you asked for your opinion on a project of this scale to come forward and say, this is what I think, this is what I believe in, and I'm going to do what I can to make it happen.
Carol, it's tough being a teenager.
It is tough. You have to worry about peer pressure, bullying, making friends, and so much more.
In December, Incourage helped support a Courage retreat for area 8th graders.
The goal of Courage retreats is to change the way kids treat each other in every hallway, lunch line, and classroom of every school in America.
Yeah, I remember high school. Well, does this work? We were there to find out.
We've been doing this for 7 years because we do see that positive impact in school, how students treat each other better. We have less issues with discipline, with fighting and things like that. Today we have 3 different schools joining us, we're really excited about that. East Junior High, Assumption Middle School, and Emmanuel Lutheran.
In December, area 8th graders attended a Courage retreat. The organization Youth Frontiers presents these retreats to help teens change how they treat themselves and others.
Youth Frontiers started 26 years ago. In those 26 years, we have worked with over 1 million students and educators.
We're going to talk about what we call everyday courage. Now, everyday courage is that kind of courage it takes to walk into school and to make a difference. To stand up for yourself, to stand up for others, to sit with someone new at the lunch table, sit with someone new on the bus, to stop gossiping, to use your power and influence in a positive way, not the negative way.
Our goal for today was to have all of these 8th graders commit to one act of courage, one thing that they could do to make a difference in their life or a difference in somebody else's life.
My act of courage is to stand up for others and to be myself. Whenever I see people being bullied, I'm not just going to stand by and watch. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to help them.
A few years ago there was a student that he got up in front of the students and he said, you know what, I'm a bully. I've probably bullied most of you. Since middle school or at one time or another, I've been mean to people. He said, my commitment to change is I'm going to stand up for bullying and I'm going to change. I'm not going to be a bully, and I want to change that, and I want all of you to know that, because you can call me out on it anytime. And if you're getting bullied, you can call me in as your friend, as your ally, and I will help you.
The Courage retreat also brings in high school students as youth leaders for the retreat.
We have high school leaders that come back that have done this before. Each one of them will be in charge of 6 of the 8th graders and working in small groups. But then aside from the small groups throughout the day, they kind of search out those kids that might be left alone, might be kind of off to the side, and they go to them and get them included and join into the fun.
All of these leaders today had participated on the Courage retreat when they were a 7th or 8th grader, and so it wasn't hard to get them very excited to be back to help out.
It was a great mood all day, even near the end when things got sad. It's still great to see how many people care.
Today we heard from students about bullying and how they were going to help out students other students who couldn't stand up for themselves. We also heard about kids who wanted to be more true to themselves and just things like that.
Courage retreats create a ripple effect for our community as these 8th graders learn important lessons.
Not judge people by just what they look like or what happened to them, judge them by who they are and what they're like.
When one person in your community acts with courage, it affects other people in that community.
I hope that a day like this shows students, how you really need to treat each other with respect and how you need to act as a young adult and growing up in this community.
In 2014, Incourage celebrates 20 years in our community.
That's almost 2 decades. We've come a long way during that time, and we're ready to celebrate our first 20 years of work.
In the studio today, we have former Community Foundation board member Carol Greenway and Incourage CEO Kelly Ryan.
Well, welcome back to the interview portion of the show. We're talking about the origins of the Community Foundation because here in 2014, we're celebrating our 20th year in existence. Woohoo!
Yeah.
In the studio today, we have Carol Greenway, involved in the beginnings of the Community Foundation, and Kelly Ryan. So, Carl, welcome to the studio. And could you start us off by talking about your initial involvement with the foundation?
I was honored to appear on the first board, and shortly after a few meetings, they elected me president. So I guess they thought I had, since I was mayor for 8 years, I might have some input into how things are supposed to work, and that was the start of my career as a foundation member.
I would say about the original board was that they had great work. They had challenging work to do. First of all, this was an unknown concept, right? And anything new, and this was in 1993 when it was kind of in startup mode. 94 was the official launch date, but anything new oftentimes is met with skepticism or questioning, or what's the ulterior motive here? And there was no ulterior motive other than what's the common good and long-term benefit for the community. And it was a new message, right?
Yeah.
And this board had to do. I look back from when I came on, which was 4 years later, 3 years later. They had to do yeoman service in communicating a message about what was this entity and how could it benefit other nonprofits, because we are a nonprofit ourselves, right?
Yeah.
How could it benefit the community at large? And they had hard work to do.
Yeah.
Policies, procedures, the startup, hiring a new director.
Yeah.
So talk about some of the early work that was undertaken by the Community Foundation.
Well, our primary purpose was to match the $1 million grant that was offered. And I remember shortly we hired Earl as a executive director part-time. So Earl and I would contact the different organizations, Kiwanis and Elks and Lions, and if we could meet with them at their meetings and discuss a little bit about foundations. So we contacted their president or chairman of the group and worked into their programs when we had a meeting, and tried to impress upon them how important a foundation was and kind of how it worked. And probably some of the people in the audience knew more about foundations than I did. But we worked hard to meet that match, and it ended up all right in the end.
Carl, what do you remember about Virginia in working with her?
I knew she was a marvelous woman, and she put us in a position to do some great things in this city of ours and community, South Hood County community, that probably will never be matched, that I can think of how anything could be done any better.
Any special memories that you have? I know Kelly talks about when she first came on board that her office was in the bank teller,
the drive-through
or something.
First National Bank.
Any special memories of those beginnings?
Well, I guess I remember the outstanding people that were appointed to the board after I left. There's some really intelligent people in this community, and I'm glad to meet them and get to know them, and it's been a great experience.
We have benefited truly from having some really great board members along the way that were committed to the concept, committed to the idea of having a community foundation here.
To give up the time and
it was an inordinate amount of time early on. A lot of people did a lot of work, but in particular, Carol Greenway, Don Stein, and Nancy Lucas, all as original board members, really did yeoman service.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
Above and beyond. Everybody was committed, everybody did a lot of work, but in particular, we'd watch the Three Musketeers do really, really good work because they believed in it.
And Carl, what's the most surprising thing over 20 years? So, you know, when at the beginning when you started and the visions and thoughts about what this might become, over 20 years, what's most surprised you?
Well, to think that $1 million generated, what, 26 million now?
A lot more than that.
More than that?
Yeah,
Isn't it pushing 30?
Yes, and we've granted about $60 million in the last 20 years.
Isn't that
so
something?
You put the dollars out the door and the dollars in, and you know we're pushing $100 million have kind of passed hands in terms
pretty
of
amazing, won't you think?
Yeah.
Money in and money out, and then what we have endowed. So, I mean, it's been a great asset for the community, and I think a credit to the board of directors is that in the original Articles of Incorporation, the primary purpose of the Community Foundation is to meet the changing needs of the community. And there was really no greater need to meet in this community than when Consolidated Papers was sold in the year 2000. And if ever there was a time that the Community Foundation would really need to think differently about what is it that we do for the community. Do we do more than raise money and give money away? That was the big question. And the answer was yes, we have to. And that really shaped the future of the organization, that we are about so much more than money. The very premise of the Community Foundation is that it is the pooling of resources of all sizes, right? Contributions of all sizes, and that every contribution matters. And I would say, in particular, some of the larger gift donors would say that you know, my $10 gift is as important in the scheme of things as their larger gift, and they would not want a larger gift to overshadow in any way contributions by all. I remember celebrating, and people really celebrating, when we had some progress funds fundraising going on, and the city of Nakusa did a community-wide effort. Give me five, they called it, $5 from every household. And I can't tell you how thrilled Gilbert Meade was out in Washington, D.C. You know, he'd call and say, so how's Nakusa doing? How's Nakusa doing, right? And oftentimes they didn't want their names on anything. You know, some of the larger donors didn't want their names on anything because they don't want people to feel like this is not an institution for everyone. And I think it would be great, Carol, you have a great story about a meaningful contribution, I think, that demonstrates.
Yeah, in fact, this happened when I first came. I had left the paper company to come to the Community Foundation and had been working a couple months, and it was just when they had announced that the city band was no longer going to be funded by the city. So were we going to have a city band? Well, someone stepped forward and said, you know, let's start a fund to do this. And a gentleman, I believe he's special needs, he rode his bike in, and I remember I didn't see him come in, but I heard this going on with Kathleen, our receptionist, and I heard him come in, and he said, you know, I've got some money for this, and I want to give it to the city band, and here's $1. And I remember hearing that and thinking, that's why I work here, because everyone can be part of making their dreams and seeing things that they want to see continue in our community go on. Yeah.
Well, Carl, we thank you for being here in the studio and for telling us and sharing the experiences from the origins of the Community Foundation. And we want to encourage you to encourage others in all your endeavors. We've got a coffee mug for you and your wife, Barbara. We wish you all the best.
That's very kind of you, and thank you very much for having me. This is a nice experience. I haven't done anything like this in 20 years.
There's always a long list of things happening at the Community Foundation, but here are highlights for this month at Incourage.
Well, the January 14th Tribune Building meeting wraps up phase 1 of the project.
But there's more to come. Meetings for phase 2, the design phase, begin this spring.
Each month, we'll update you on the Tribune Building project.
Or go to tribunebuilding.org for more information. You'll find meeting summaries, a list of ideas generated, and more.
There's a plethora of ideas.
A plethora.
And we've got more exciting news.
Woohoo!
Recently, a collaboration received a grant from Constellation and Exelon Company.
It's for solar energy. 189 area students at 4 participating high schools will learn energy generation and conservation.
Midstate Technical College's Renewable Energy Program will evaluate each high school's energy efficiency and provide curriculum and instruction.
It's a great partnership between Midstate Incourage and the 4 area high schools to promote science, technology, engineering, and math.
That's STEM. Every month we're working on many projects, but that's what's happening this month at Incourage. Okay, we're back and it's time to find out where are we in Southwood County?
Rick, I'm bored. There's nothing to do here.
Oh, I'm so tired of hearing that. Haven't you heard about the Wisconsin Rapids Convention and Visitors Bureau?
Well, I've heard of it, but that's just for tourists, right?
No way. It's for everybody. Tourists, residents, whoever. They've got a plethora of events on there. Check it out. You'll be so busy you won't have time to be bored. And here's Laura Nelson to tell us more.
The Wisconsin Rapids Area Visitor Center is located at 2821 8th Street South in Wisconsin Rapids. In short, the CVB brings visitors to our community, which in turn turns into economic impact. So when we bring visitors to the area, that's in the form of sporting events, business associations hosting meetings here, and the leisure visitors that come to see things like cranberries or attend our festivals. Residents can use us for whatever they need. If you have visitors coming to the area, we can of course help them feel at home here and give them plenty of things to see and do. Or if you're feeling a little gutsy and you're willing to host an event or bring an association to the area or maybe even start something new, we can help you get that off the ground.
The Visitor Center knows what attracts people to our area. Want to guess what the biggest draw is? You might be surprised.
Sports is the major draw to this area. We've got phenomenal facilities here. We've got the BMX park, we've got Lake Wazeecha, we've got Southwood County Rec Center, tons of courts, tons of baseball diamonds, and so people come for that. The WIAA hosts 2 state events and we're home to many national events. So when you think about the economic impact and the overnight stays that get generated from those events, it really makes a huge impact.
If you're interested in sports tourism, here's an opportunity for you.
We're going to be hosting our first annual Sports Summit, and that's going to be for the entire Wisconsin Rapids area. That's going to be hosted at Hotel Mead, February 18th. We're very excited. We're going to have the presentation of Incourage's Vital Signs by Gus Mancuso. We're going to have a world-renowned motivational speaker, Ross Bernstein. He's written over 50 books and interviewed some of the best. Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, you name it. So he is going to get us all pumped up, and then we are going to chat sports and Southwood County and how we can help one another reach our goals through somewhat challenging times and come out on the other end even better.
The Sports Commission is also helping bring a new event to our community in March.
We partnered with Tri-City Curling Club and with Southwood County Rec Center, and they came together at our Sports Commission meeting and brought something to this area that has never been brought here before. Here in March, we're going to be hosting the Curling Mixed Nationals, which is so cool. It's an Olympic qualifier event, and without the partnerships that have been established through this organization, it wouldn't have happened.
Whether you're a resident or visitor, there's one thing Laura Nelson wants you to know.
We are a resource for you, so if you need anything whatsoever, please reach out. That's what we're here for.
Well,
Well, that's it for today's show. We appreciate you joining us for a new season to get the inside scoop about your community and the work of Incourage Community Foundation.
We're excited to celebrate our 20-year anniversary as a community foundation and hope that you'll join us in the celebration over the coming months.
As always, a huge thanks to River Cities Community Access for hosting us.
Tune in next month for another edition of Are You In? Happy New Year, Carol.
Happy New Year, Rick.